I have been obese. I have been fat. I have felt addicted to foods that I can't seem to get under control. I've started 100 diets in the morning and can't get them past lunchtime. I have felt defeated. I have felt shame. I gained, in the fitness industry, 80 pounds in a gym working in management and as a trainer and an instructor. At the end of that road, I hurt so much that I couldn't ride the spin bike. I had to teach from the ground. I know the pain. I know the sense of defeat. I know how to look in a mirror and not see myself. I know the pain. So I have been there. Someone recently said to me, it's not the information on dieting or even carbohydrates or even a ketogenic diet. It's not the value isn't in the information. Anyone can go get that information just like you did. Get on the internet, Google, search, go for it. Look everywhere. Buy a book, do a diet.
Well, December 27th, when we first met, I really didn't know what I was getting into, but I've tried every diet for the last 20 plus years. And so I thought, well, this is another one. I'll go ahead and try it. I went to her house and she was talking about finding your food, and she kept saying, what if? What if your life could be different? What if you didn't wake up tired? What if you didn't think about food all day long and you weren't hungry all the time? And she was saying all of these, what if your life could look different than it looks now? And I really didn't know what that meant because I'm not a very creative person. So I couldn't imagine beyond what the day was. And so by the end of the time at her house, I was starting to imagine what would that look like if I was in a smaller body, and not just about the numbers on the scale, but what if I felt better to play with my kids more? What if I felt better to do things more and to be a better wife and a mom? So that was the what if for me. And so finding my food was not, I've hoarded my food, I've dreamt about my food, but I've never found the food that made me feel better. I found a lot of foods that made me feel terrible and made me heavy and lethargic, but I've never found the food that made me feel better and feel more energetic. And that's what Find Your Food has been for me with Jess, and just her constant support and coaching and tough love and anything you need it to be. She's been there, and she's giving exactly what you need.
One of the biggest things, one of the biggest hindrances to going on a diet after you've been off a diet and you've gained 80 pounds, one of the hardest things you have to do is you have to put yourself back under restraint. People don't like restraint. They don't want to be restrained, and they know they have to restrain themselves and stay within the guidelines of a way of eating to get results. People don't like that. So they don't trust people, they don't want to do this thing, but mostly they don't want to submit themselves to restraint. That's the hardest thing. And you'll pick one or two. You'll either pick the gym and put yourself under the restraint of working out, or you'll pick a diet and put yourself under the restraint of eating within a specific range of foods. But most of the time, the hardest work is getting yourself to that place where you'll bow your knee, bend your knee, whatever you want to say it, and basically comply. Any diet will work if you'll comply 90% of the time.
So Find Your Food was new to me. I've done diets before, so it was something that was a little bit new and different with someone helping you out. Jessica is unbelievable. She will text you, call you, Facebook message you, everything, and make sure that you're doing what you should be doing and there for motivation. It always helps to have someone accountable, and she does it in a way that's not restrictive. She does it in a way that is loving and knows where to go. It's always helpful to have someone at the end of the line as you're walking that journey. For me, it was more, I had sort of found my food in certain diets that I've done in the past, but for me it was more finding what's gonna work for the long term. It wasn't more about, oh, this is what I'm gonna do for 6 months or a year. It was more, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. And for me, Find Your Food becomes more about who you are and the life that you can live. Because for me, food has been an addiction. And I think it's as addictive or more so than alcohol or drugs or any of those other things, because it's addictive and you don't even know it. You don't know you're addicted to bread. You don't know that you're addicted to certain things that are literally killing you. And I can remember we had the conversation, Jess and I, like probably December, when she was thinking about doing this and asking me about it. And I had actually just went for a checkup, and I was borderline high blood pressure, and my whole family has issues with that. I didn't want to do pills and do all this stuff. And so we talked a lot about what can be done. And you know, for me, it was so motivating because she's motivating, but also because, you know, you have a family and you want to be around. And yes, that whatever you're eating may taste good and be awesome, but you know, it's not the life that you're meant to live. So for me, it was all about finding yourself and finding out who you were called and meant to be when it was related to food. And she's very good about keeping you on the path to getting to what you want to be. So, been great.
It's really critical, compliance. You have to agree with it, you have to follow its rules. Most of them are very specific, diets are specific. The low carbohydrate ketogenic diets, they want your carbohydrates down and they want certain carbohydrates completely out. And if you will comply with that principle, things will happen in your body. You'll get free of the cycle, your blood sugar will come down, your insulin will stay down, and you'll feel better and you'll be able to comply. My passion for why I'm working with people, why I am reaching out and offering to help people, my passion is that I know this works. My passion is I found my food. It was right smack in the middle of a low carbohydrate diet. These foods work for me. I found what works for me. And if I will just stay in that place, what works for me, food is quiet. I feel better. I've lost weight. I am healthier. I go after life again. I'm ready to do things. I'm ready to live. I'm ready to risk. And it all comes back down to food. I found my food. What's changed? Food's changed. And then I followed that change. And I've come back alive. I've come back around to wanting vision again, wanting direction, wanting purpose. It comes back down to purpose. The natural fit for me is, I found my food. I want to help you find your food too. Oh my gosh, food, it's food.
Well, my journey started when I got pregnant with my son, Declan. And it got me starting to think about something that I'd always wanted for my own kids, is to be able to teach them healthy eating. However, it's something that I personally didn't know. I grew up, trying everything under the sun because I grew up in the 90s and I was a kid who gained weight faster than other kids. So my mother, trying to help me, introduced me to everything. I did the Zone diet, I did Weight Watchers, I did quick weight loss, I did low carb, I did don't care, I did so many things that by the time I got around to having Declan, I realized that I didn't know too much about nutrition in general, and I didn't want to have him see me struggling with this area in my life when I want to teach him how to be confident, not only in his eating, but I feel like it affects all other parts of my life. So after I had Declan, I saw that Jess was offering a mentorship for a year, and I knew this is what I need to do. I wanted to find a life that was balanced in eating, finding out what food works for me, because I know some food works for some people, some food affects other people differently, and I wanted to find how food affected me and how it affected my life. So I spoke with Jess and we started this journey, and right off the bat we started with Whole30, which cuts a lot of stuff other than basically protein, carbs, fruits, and if you decide, potatoes. And I discovered very quickly that I'm one of those few, some people in our group, they've been able to cut potatoes. I can still do sweet potatoes and it doesn't really affect me. So that's really what finding your food is for me, is being able to find food that balances in your life. Because one thing I love that Whole30 talks about is, you're gonna live your life and you're gonna have moments and that are going to cause you to, try different things. And maybe you're in a situation where you have to eat something that's maybe not amazing. But if you're finding the balance in your food and you're finding your food, you can come back around after that meal and go right back to what you're doing. So if you're at a party and you've been doing mostly meat and veggies, well, they have some meat and maybe not too many veggies. You can go into that situation and go, okay, this is what I can do. Here's my game plan. And then tomorrow I can come back around and go, okay, so now I'm back to, I know what to do with each meal. And it creates freedom instead of going, oh, I have to have that, or I have to have that, or people are gonna look at me funny if I don't eat that. I mean, first thing I went to was a party at a Mexican restaurant and everyone looked at me funny when I didn't eat the chips and salsa or the queso. But I just sat there and I was like, you know what, this is my decision. And I've chosen to do this because chips, salsa, and queso are not gonna make me feel great. So even if you're questioned, you can go into each situation with a game plan and have the knowledge to face that. So for me, that's what finding your food is all about. That's what Jess has helped me discover, and it's the journey we're doing even now continually. And that's gonna not only help me, it's helped my husband, and it's gonna help my son and other children as it goes on.
I have found in my life, this time around, in my life with dieting, the number one thing that led to success is community. Community means everything. You do better with others than you do alone. That's the truth. My two great success stories with dieting will both come back to community. Online community, and this time around, I have a diet partner. So community is a connection, community is accountability, community is we walk together, we work this out together, and we're gonna succeed together.